What does not include physical mobility but rather the control and possession of all the rights of ownership. Purchasing power. If an appraiser is valuing real property by sales comparison, whose actions is he or she least likely to consider? Government agencies. Which value characteristic implies the presence of a need or demand which considers the monetary power to fill that need? Desire. The rights and benefits inherent in the ownership of a parcel of land would be defined as real property. Which statement is true regarding appraisers and value? Market value is only one type of value. Appraisers estimate other types of value as well. What is the motivation of an individual, group of persons, or business entity involving the purchase of an item? Desire. What is the focal point of a real property appraisal? The value of ownership rights. USPAP cautions appraisers to use the definition of market value that is specified in the definitions section of USPAP. False. Which methods are most appropriate to the sales comparison approach? Economics and statistics. Appraiser Abigail is appraising a newer, high-tech steel mill. In delineating her market, which of these should she most likely consider? Properties within a region or several state area. Which market is inefficient? Real estate market. The growth rate is higher in Community A than Community B because Community A has public water and sewage available. As a result, property values are higher in Community A. This is an example of what force affecting the market? Environmental. A large, old, dilapidated commercial building sits in an economically depressed section of the city. There are no market participants who have the financial capability to renovate and use such a large building. This is an example of what force? Economic. Which statement is true regarding the appraisal development process? Development and reporting are two separate and distinct functions. Harry is preparing a real property appraisal report for his client. Which USPAP standard must he follow in preparing this report? Standard 2. An appraiser inspects a subject property, which is a vacant apartment building. The appraiser's measurements and field notes from the inspection would be considered what type of data? Specific data. An appraiser is valuing a small apartment building. The appraiser gathers information on demographics and employment trends, which is useful in analyzing the market. This would be considered what type of data? General data. The appraisal development process and appraisal reporting process are considered to be one function. False. In the appraisal process, what type of data pertains only to the subject property and comparables? Specific data. Dave is completing a market value appraisal on an office building. Which statement will most likely be true regarding his highest and best use analysis? He will have to develop two highest and best use opinions. What is the most profitable use to which a property can be put? Highest and best use. When considering legal permissibility and current land use regulations, an appraiser must also consider blank. Reasonably probable modifications of land use regulations. Marco is appraising a vacant site which is suitable for commercial development. In selecting comparable sales, what would likely be her most important consideration? Sales should have the same highest and best use. A property is improved with a building and is valued at $425,000. It would cost $50,000 to raise and remove the building, and the value of the vacant site would be $500,000. Under this scenario, raising and removing the building would be considered blank. Financially feasible. An appraiser takes secondary data on a sale from the local MLS and personally verifies elements of the transaction and the physical characteristics of the property with the purchaser. This sale would now be considered what type of data? Primary data. A building owner installs a new green roof on the structure at a cost of $300,000. The value of the building only increases by $200,000 as a result of the new roof. This demonstrates which economic principle? Contribution. Value is a fact or an estimate of fact. False. The concentric zone model includes which zones? Commuter, residential, working class, transition, factory, loop or central business district.